welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem. Today I'm going to be unboxing the latest Upcrate. This month I will be doing the Upcrate battle in a separate video. I alternate between this and the scroller box, lumping the art challenge in with the box. So we will just be looking at the supplies today, but it means we've got time to give them a really good road test. 21st Upcrate, and this is of course the May box. I have no expectations, but we shall see what we've got inside. Now, the thing about Upcrate is they are a monthly subscription, and this comes from Germany. They follow a similar format to some of the other monthly boxes in that we get a set of supplies and we get a challenge, and we're supposed to create something that relates to that challenge with the contents of the box. There is usually a featured artist, and we also get a magazine that goes into a bit more depth about the supplies and has other arty things in too, which I always quite like because it's nice to sit with a cup of tea and keep your arty knowledge up. So I'm going to stick this box off to the side. The first thing that's on the top here is the bottle post, which is the magazine, and I absolutely love the design that's on the cover. Drawing hands is really difficult. Artwork is made by drawmusic_78. I really like that. Thank you, Draw Music, for submitting this because that's put something beautiful on the cover. So we'll take a look at this last because we don't want to spoil the surprise for ourselves either. There is a sachet of salt in here. Now, to me, that only says one thing. I see it done all the time, and that is using salt with watercolor. It gives you quite a nice effect. That would be my guess. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I forgot about the stickers as well. We always get some stickers, and these ones are green and they've got leaves on them. That's my favourite thing. Oh, these are nice, and that's a shaped sticker. Oh yeah. I love the Upcrate logo this month as well. I really like this. Oh, okay, so here is our featured artist. This is what they call the co-captain, Schlemmer Art. This is Andrea Schlemmer. Her Instagram is on the back here, so she does do a lot of watercolouring, so that's where we're going this month. And these are absolutely adorable. Look at the bun. This is really nice. I love the detail in this, and I love all the sort of variation within these leaves. That's really nice. I like that. That's going up in my wall. Okay, so unsurprisingly, I think it's watercolour we've got. Now, what have we got here? So we usually get a drawing surface as well, and for the first time in a while, Upcrate have been quite stingy, and they've given us 2 sheets of paper, and this is really textured. So this is cold pressed paper. It looks machine pressed because the pattern or the texture of the paper is very uniform, like the knobbly bobbly bits are knobbly bobbly all the way. I'm quite disappointed that there's only 2 sheets, I am not going to lie. That means basically that I have 1 sheet to test the supplies out on for this video, and then I have 1 sheet to actually create an artwork on. So if I balls it up, let's just hope we can paint on both sides, but the texture is different on each side of the paper as well. So we'll find out a little bit more about that paper just shortly. I'm intrigued about this box. A colour mixing and storage palette, and it says 18 mixing areas, holds up to 48 pans, so I'm assuming that'll be 48 half pans. I don't think it's going to be 48 full pans. Oh, this is posh. Oh, shiny. Oh look, you can see all the reflections of stuff in this. Can you see my head? That's the Manfrotto arm that holds my camera up, in case you're wondering. It looks like some kind of like, I don't know. Okay, ooh. So these are mixed. Oh, that's what was rattling about, and that just slots in there. There's little clips on it. Yeah. So these are our 18 mixing wells, and this is obviously the area for our pans. Speaking of pans, Lucas watercolour. I know nothing about these other than they're a German brand. Aquarelle 1862. Okay, so we've got 3 colours. Okay, here's my thing about this. I know they're going to be different because warm and cold colours and all that jazz. They've given us sap green, Paris blue, which looks as if it might be more like an indigo blue. Again, if I kind of look at this, there's nothing that really gives it away that much in the artwork. And a lemon yellow. What does blue and yellow make? It makes green. It makes green. So we may be able to get different shades. I know nothing about these watercolours, so I'll be interested to find out something about them. They do have light fastness ratings on them, which is always a good sign. And obviously these would slot in here. So let's just do a quick calculation here. I know this isn't very scientific or accurate, but... So you fit roughly 6 in a slot. Six fives as far as I remember aren't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, six fives aren't 48, but if you were thinking half pans, you get way more than 48 in. So I don't know how they've come up with that calculation, but still, this is quite interesting. I don't know if I would use it. And these ridges here, they're quite deep. You know, the sides are quite deep as well, so that's good from a point of view. If you're sticking your brush in there, you're not slopping it all about the place. It's a kind of common complaint I have about some of the other plastic palettes, watercolour palettes. That's a fairly sturdy box as well. I'm reasonably impressed with that, and I like this shiny lid, although it's marked already. It's probably not going to stay shiny for long. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's not scuffed, but you can, yeah, it's just, okay. Ooh, but nice when it's new. Okay, what else is in here? We have got a paintbrush, and it is a weenie paintbrush. Upcrate by Borciani Bonazzi. Blah, blah, blah. Spit it out, Gem. Now, here's the thing about this particular, get out of there. That is like the finest of fine detail brushes. I love brushes like that. But in the spirit of doing an Upcrate battle with this, we're going to have to introduce another brush, because a brush this size isn't versatile. This is for detail work, which is how the artist has got all these lovely fine lines. But they did not put in all these washes and layers in the background with this brush, I can tell you that right now. You are instantly limited to not being able to do a wash if you're going to be a purist and stick with the supplies in the box. I can tell you right now, I'll be introducing other paintbrushes. I'm excited to try this though, because I do like a weenie paintbrush. And I'm also very attracted to the colour of the actual handle. It's like it's almost like a marbled effect, but it's supposed to be like a distressed wood but painted. It's really, really difficult to see, but it's got like a darker blue in it as well. It's very pretty. I hope it's as good as it looks. The last thing in this box is a Jelly Roll glaze pen. Well, it looks like it doesn't actually say Jelly Roll on it. The glaze pens, I always get these mixed up. It's basically a gel pen. And the glaze ones, I'm sure, have like a shiny finish on them. You know, like a gloss finish, I mean. I'm sure that's what those do. These are really reliable gel pens. I like Jelly Roll gel pens. I tend not to get on too well with them in a general sense, but Jelly Roll's the ones that I can kind of like work a little bit better with. And this is black, I'm assuming. And as I say, I think it'll finish with like a shiny finish. So yeah, that's our supplies. I don't really know how I feel about this. I'm excited because I like watercolours, and I especially like watercolours that I haven't tried before. I'm interested to see these colours side by side. Obviously we want to be mixing a lot of greens, and I'm assuming that the Upcrate battle is going to be something to do with green things. But in terms of actually exploring it as a medium and introducing us to something new, this isn't very adventurous. And another paintbrush really would have been nice, but again, I've got my own paint. I have loads of paintbrushes. I don't need your paintbrushes, Upcrate. And the fact that there's only 2 sheets of paper as well, that actually upsets me more than anything else about this box. 3 would have been nice, you know, because at least that way you've got 1 to test your supplies out and see how they're going to behave, and then you can start your artwork, and if you make an ass of it, at least you've got a spare sheet. So I think that was pretty stingy, to be honest. I'm sure it's to do with the price of the supplies and the contents of the box and everything. So let's take a look in the bottle post and see what else we can learn about these supplies, because obviously I have a lot to learn. These are alien supplies to me. Oh, here we go. Each of you has 3 of 9 colours. So it just so happens that the box that I got has the most unfortunate combination of colours. So this isn't deliberate, which makes it even more annoying. Look, there's a beautiful pink colour there. How dare you not give me the pink colour? The Lucas Aquarelle paints. Let's ride into the colourful watercolour waves. The highest possible pigment concentration in the Lucas Aquarelle 1862 colours is characterised by first-class paintability and washability. Whether diluted or applied as a covering, the colours impress with their lively, light-fast intensity. Mates, you don't have to scrub these paint pans because the pigments are particularly easy to dissolve. Well, I'm sure we shall find that out for ourselves. We've got the Paris Blue, which isn't an indigo colour at all. It's ultramarine. We have Lemon Yellow as well. If this is quite a difficult photograph to see it from, but there doesn't look much difference in the pans between the lemon and the cadmium. And we've also got Sap Green as well, which is a yellow-based green. So, really excited to get like a cobalt blue, or the dioxazine violet, or a magenta, instead of all these greens and yellows. So here's the full colour chart, and the light fastness there as well, which I always appreciate. And there's some absolutely gorgeous colour. Prussian green looks beautiful, as does the permanent green as well, and also the cobalt green look like lovely colours. So that's, you know, this is my column here basically. I'll just be in here because indigo is also in this column as well, which is another one of my favourite colours to paint with. They seem to have a really good range of colours, and the light fastness ratings seem to be quite high as well. I'm interested to know how much these actually cost. Now, they do have a retail price normally. The recommended retail price of the cobalt green is €8, so about £7.50 for a big pan. That's not a lot of money for that size of pan. It's really not. Because these pans are huge. So I would say they're pretty good value for money. And again, that's the recommended retail price. You'll probably find them cheaper if you did a bit of shopping about. Okay, so this is Alpine Salt. It tells you a little bit about it. Watercolor artists also like to use salt as an effect medium as it melts into water and displaces the colour like this. It gives you like a snowflake effect. It is very cool. I wouldn't use... Well, we'll need to try out the Alpine salt and see what it does. I usually use rock salt though, because it kind of like sucks up a little bit. So that'll be interesting to try out. Okay, Borciani Bonazzi. This little paint... Oh, these paintbrushes are so pretty. Small but mighty. This brush with a light blue handle and soft natural hair with a fine rounded tip in size 2. I know that different companies use different size charts, but that's never a size 2 brush, and it's puff. Its advantages are particularly evident in botanical illustrations. The brush holds a lot of water and pigment, is strong and durable, as well as flexible, which creates a fluid fine stroke. Yeah, it would be nice to have a larger brush to try. They are giving a 15% discount on minimum purchases of €30. Very difficult to tell the quality of a series of brushes from one tiny brush. I think that might be just due to my limited knowledge and experience with paintbrushes because I am not a painter. Okay, here's the jelly roll. Waterproof and transparent. Okay, you can create exciting textures with the waterproof transparent jelly roll glaze pen. This has a longer drying time and is particularly suitable for decorative purposes and a chic batik look. When writing and drawing, the pen creates a shiny, defined 3D effect on all smooth surfaces such as paper, rubber, plastic, glass and metal. Glaze is the first pen of its kind with 3D ink and is available in 10 glossy and bright colours. I have these already. Yeah, it kind of sits up off the paper a little bit. That's jogged my memory, I remember now. They've clearly got their things mixed up here. They've got the ArtSpace Watercolor Pad A5. No, this is not a watercolour pad. This is a mixing palette. This treasure chest is yours. I suppose it is a kind of art treasure chest, isn't it? The ArtSpace mixing and storage palette is made of white coated plastic on which your water soluble pigments come into their own and stay moist for a long time. Inside you will find a mixed palette, and underneath there's plenty of space to transport paint pots of various common sizes. The material of the box is stable enough to withstand the surging waves in your bag. It is pretty robust. It's definitely a sturdy piece of kit, that's for sure. Paper. St Cuthbert's Mill Bockingford watercolour paper. It's valued for its excellent colour lifting abilities and is made on a cylinder mould. It is an extremely forgiving watercolour paper that is easy to use and to correct mistakes. That's probably a good thing for me. Every sheet of watercolour paper is buffered with calcium carbonate to protect finish work from discoloration caused by acidic environmental pollution. In addition, the paper does not yellow over time because it's acid free. Okay, €15 for 12 sheets. But. Let's just do a calculation here because I like numbers. 12 sheets of 31 by 23 centimetres, so that's slightly bigger than A4. Okay, so here's the thing. A well-known and trusted UK art company are selling the slightly bigger than A4 pad for £12.95, which is £1.08 per sheet. So half of that would be 54 pence. So we got £1.08 worth of paper. I think they could have given us an extra sheet of paper. Just saying. I seem to recall having used this paper before and I think I quite liked it, so I'm optimistic about that. Here's a part about the co-captain. So this is a little interview with the person that has painted this lovely, very, very attractive artwork that's going on my wall. And you can see they've put the design round about as well. So that's something that's quite nice to sit and read. And here is some of her artwork as well. Oh, look at these, so pretty. Okay, so special tips from the co-captain to help us on our arting journey. Paint from light to dark. Watercolours are a transparent medium, meaning that colours get progressively darker as you layer them on top of each other. However, it's difficult to brighten up areas again once they're too dark because the pigment stains the paper. Use different techniques, wet and wet, wet and dry. Apply masking fluid, that's quite brave to be fair. If you want to colour large spaces like backgrounds that have detailed edges and other parts you would like to preserve for later, masking fluid is a massive help. Apply it on top of every area you don't want your paint to go, let it dry, paint on top of it, let it dry again and scrub off the masking fluid. It talks about special effects here as well, like salt and also plastic foil as well. Also there's the how to do video as well you can check out. So Colourless Beauty, here are some of the entries for that. And that was the graphite box, which was one of my absolute favourites. Just because it was pencils. I like this one. Okay, so they're talking about using salt here, telling you how to do it. We have our Sailor of the Month, which is Trinkety. Steph Pardo, or Trinkety, an illustrator from Norfolk in England. I love her description of where she lives. This is brilliant. If you imagine that Britain is the shape of an old lady, and Scotland is her head, Cornwall and the south are her toes, then Norfolk would be her butt. That's really funny. Now, I was particularly taken by this illustration that she did. That really appealed to me, so I'm glad to see that she is Sailor of the Month. Really enjoy that. I don't know why I enjoy that piece so much, but I really do. I think it's just the boldness of the colours next to the outline, because it's quite a thick outline as well. I really like that. Okay, how to do aquarelle flowers. Okay, so there's different techniques here for painting foliage and flora. Foliage and flora, yeah. And here we have a section on the cover challenge. They're asking you to submit your own artworks for the cover. They must have seen me coming. Feel free to use any brush for the battle. Of course, you can also paint in large areas in your artwork for the Upcrate battle with a larger brush that is not included. Not only this month. We've got our little quiz here as well, and this is our postcard to cut out should we so desire. And if we move on to the back cover, this is where our Upcrate battle is going to be, and the battle topic is Shades of Spring. Well, it's just as well I've got green, isn't it? That's a really nice prompt. I'm really enjoying the prompts that Upcrate are provided this last little while. Some of them have been quite thought-provoking, but none of them have been ridiculous. And Shades of Spring is just an absolutely lovely prompt. I like the sound of it very much. Obviously, I spend a lot of time arting nature things, so it's something that appeals to me anyway. But even the ones that were, you know, a little bit more challenging, like Echo, and weirdly that was one of the ones that Upcrate really liked of mine that I wasn't too fussed on. There was lots of ways to interpret it. It didn't sort of channel you into one thing. So this is perfect. I am really looking forward to this. I do have to go away for a couple of days, so it's actually fallen in quite nicely that I'm not doing the battle in with this. So that's something for you to look out for. It'll probably be in about 2 weeks' time by the time I get back, so you can look forward to that. But in the meantime, I'm just going to kind of tidy up a wee bit here and we'll get testing out these supplies and just see what they can do. Alright, I've got some stuff set out here. We're going to do some testing out. So I've employed a few other things, as you can probably see. I've got a bigger brush, it's just a slightly bigger brush. This is a Milan number 10, and it's just so that we can see the colour in all its glory when we test it out. And the other thing I've got as well is a ceramic palette, and I just want to show you the difference between mixing watercolour on a plastic palette to a ceramic palette, so we can test out all our bits and pieces. And I've also brought some salt as well, not the salt that came in the sachet because it's alpine salt, just some normal salt here to show you that kind of effect as well on this type of paper. So I've chopped my test sheet in two here, and we're going to start with this little piece here, and I just want to try out this pen. Now quite often the jelly rolls have got a little plastic nubbin on them, and it's just to protect the nibs in transit, so you've got to pull that off or else nothing will happen. And it may take a wee while to get this going as well, so I'll just grab a bit of scrap paper here. Oh, we're off straight away, straight out the gate. That's brilliant, just what we wanted. So when you lay this down, it's quite generous and it's quite thick looking. And I have to say that unless you really tilt it in the light, it does actually sit up off the paper a wee bit. So I want to try this out on here. And naturally it's not going down as smoothly on here as it did on the plain paper because this is pretty textured. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you It's very free flowing, so I'm able to fill in areas with it without any hassle, and that does look quite sort of juicy and glossy. Again, if I tilt it in the light, you'll see it shimmering in the light there. And the other thing I wanted to show you was that like a salt effect. So I'm just going to take this big brush here, and I'm going to grab a little bit of this this sap green. Whoa, it seems to be very soluble. That didn't take much effort at all there. That was like 2 brush strokes. I haven't pre-wet the pans or anything. Oh, this is nice. Gem likes this. Look how vibrant that colour is. Good grief. Maybe add a little bit more in there. Oh, that's nice. And it's sitting really well on the paper. And that's something that I have learned, you know, by doing all these subscription boxes, is you can have 2 really, really great supplies, but if they're not compatible, it's absolutely pointless, and it's also very frustrating as well, especially with watercolour paper. When it comes to watercolour painting, the best thing to invest in is your paper. You can do great artwork with crappy paints on really good paper. You can't do excellent artwork on really crappy paper with good paints. It just doesn't work that way. So invest in your paper, and this looks as if it's going to be a fabulous combination. So while that's still wet, I'm just going to grab a wee bit of my salt, and I'm literally sprinkly on top of my colour. And if you look closely, you can see the dark patches, and that is the salt sucking up the moisture from the watercolour paint. So we're going to pop that off to the side to do its thing, and then we can take a look at these paints proper. So yeah, we've already established that the solubility of these is excellent. Literally like a tiny bit of water. So as we've already demonstrated, that is the sap green. It travels really well as well. It's very mobile on the paper, and the pigment is happy to swim through the water. So let's try the lemon yellow. That's nice. It feels nice, like when you move it across the paper, it feels nice to do that. It's a very pleasant experience. And this blue. Oh, that is not what I was expecting at all. I really like this blue colour. That is lovely. I was expecting, just from what we saw in the photograph, I was expecting an ultramarine, but look at that. That is a beautiful colour. I like that a lot. That makes me instantly happy. So I want to try this small brush as well, and I'm going to do this with the neat colours. This is so tiny, and that's never a number 2. Now, it does hold a lot of water for such a tiny brush. That's pretty impressive. That is very, very good. Now I want to try and get a really thin line here. I want to see how fine. That is my kind of paintbrush. Absolutely lovely. Look how delicate that line is. That's going to be perfect for detail work, for veins and leaves and flowers and all these other things. I would love to try one of these brushes in a larger size. Now let's see how, and you can still get a fairly wide stroke with that, but that really is stressing the bristles, and we don't really want to do that because that's how you end up with knackered bristles. But you can get a fairly wide stroke there as well. So that's really nice actually. I think I quite like this paintbrush. Okay, so let's talk about mixing some of these then. Now, naturally, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mix this this blue and green. This blue and yellow together to see what happens. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of water down there, and I'm going to grab some of this yellow, and then I'll grab a wee bit of blue, and let's just see what we come up with. So as I expected, you know, this is leaning a bit more towards the sort of dual shades, and it's because this blue's got, it kind of leans more towards like greens than purple. So that's given us quite a nice shade of green. Oh yeah. So let's see what happens then. And obviously the more blue that we add to this, the more turquoisey it's going to get, or teal even. Just give that a good mix in. So the mixing capabilities, this is really easy. Like there was no hardship in mixing this paint together. So that's nice. Right, and let's add in some yellow. And unsurprisingly, that's taken us quite close to what's going on up here. And that's why I kind of grudge having these 3 colours, but I really like this blue. Like I really like the blue. Really like it. Let's take a little bit of our green, and if we add this blue, is it going to give us a different shade to what we did previously? And the answer is probably not. That's just like a deeper version. Okay, so really if we're going to paint something with this, we are looking at, you know, shades of green literally, and obviously we can use the blue as it is as well. We can use that neat. And if I was to mix in some of the yellow with the sap green, then we should be able to get a fairly light spring green. Or lime green. Yeah, they're almost like back to yellow at that. It's like a chartreuse colour. But there we go, so that's the sort of scope we've got. I would quite like to try a lifting technique as well, because they did say that the paper was helpful for that. So there's a thirsty brush, and that is lifting beautifully. I'll zoom in and let you see this a bit better in a minute. I'm just, I want to take this all the way across while it's, so this is still a bit damp, this paint obviously, but I can cut a huge line through the middle of that there. I'll just hold that up for you, can you see that? So the lifting capabilities are excellent. And I'd like to also just layer this up a little bit as well, because I would like to see if I could get a more intense colour with this. So we can go back over it. Yes, 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 yes. And it's not disturbing the layer underneath too much, so if you leave it to dry properly, you know, like your first layer to dry properly, you can work confidently over the top of it, building those layers, knowing that you're not going to disturb all your hard work that's underneath. But I mean, that's pretty intense for a watercolour. Look at that. Yeah, so we can make use of this. This we can definitely do. And let's just layer up over something else as well. See how transparent that is. And that's really nice. And again, the texture of the paper's helping with this, because it's quite bobbly. The sections that are raised, that's already holding the yellow, they're peeking up through that layer of paint that I've just put down, so you can get some lovely effects with that as well. I am really impressed with these paints. I like them a lot. I don't think I would buy them in full pans like this, but they're very, very nice paints indeed, and they seem to be really affordable as well, which is just nice. These types of paints that are quite pigmented and quite vibrant aren't everyone's cup of tea when it comes to watercolour painting, but they're definitely fun. Like, you can't deny that they're not fun. Right, I just want to talk about this palette for a wee second now as well, and just demonstrate to you what I was talking about. So you've seen the way that I've been working mixing on a ceramic palette, and if I show you the same thing on a plastic palette, you will see why I'm not really a fan. So if I take a little bit of this yellow and I want to put it down, put it in my well, and it kind of like, it tries to stick to itself because it's on plastic. You just don't get the same movement and mixability, like it all sort of sucks together. And then if you add some water, it's forever trying to like amalgamate itself. And plus as well, working with really heavy pigments like this, you know, things that are really, really saturated, it will stain your palette and it ends up looking really, really grubby and untidy. And I'm not into that at all. So that's purely a preference thing. It's not actually going to affect your ability to paint in any way, shape or form. It is literally just a personal preference, but I would rather not work on plastic palettes. When it comes to acrylics and oils, quite happy to work on plastic palettes, I actually prefer it, but just not with watercolour. It's just not a thing. And I'm kind of like tilting my head in the light, and that has actually stained that already. It's very slight obviously because I've lifted it off straight away, but it is stained already. Okay, I've just had a disaster. I've just knocked all this salt off. Pip came and bumped the table and I went to stop her and the whole thing just jolted off. So that's done nothing, so I'll have to redo that for you. But that's actually quite good because I think I'm going to do it with the darker colour, and that's going to show up better for you. So I'll use the blue instead. Ever the consummate professionals here, you know, in the cave. Oh. That was a lot of salt. Right, this is just a really quick test, just to jog and satisfy my own memory more than anything else. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Oh, lordy. It's quite alarming that you guys come to me to see, you know, for an opinion on the contents of the box, and clearly I'm not competent enough not to knock things over. That is so concerning. Okay, right, so I'm just going to grab some of this yellow here and I want to see what happens. Yeah, as long as you don't scrub too hard, you can actually paint over the top of this pen once it's dry. Personally, I would probably paint first and then put the pen down on top. But if it's something that you want to try out, these things they're not essential, but they're good to know. But now what I want to do is I want to scrub at it and see if it's actually going to come off, or it's going to start to move about. And the answer is no. I'm actually lifting the watercolour paint off because I'm scrubbing that much, and the ink is not moving, look. How cool is that? That is so good to know. So, because that's one of the things it's a hurdle that I've come across in some other boxes, where if you've got like a black liner, whether it's a pen or a pencil or whatever, sometimes you have to be selective as to how and when you use it. That's very much not the case. But I will say with the Jelly Roll, you will have to give it quite a lot of drying time. That's had about an hour to dry. So just be aware of that when you're using it. And the problem is as well, because it's shiny, you don't actually know when it's dry because it still looks wet. So overall here, this is a really interesting box, for me anyway, in the sense that I've never tried these paints before. I have been given a very, very limited palette in terms of colours, because obviously the two colours that I'm going to mix together create the third colour. So that's an extra challenge, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And obviously this picture is going to be green. There's not much I can do about that. So we'll definitely have a little think about that. I'll think about that while I'm away, and when I come back I'll be ready to do something exciting. So overall, I'm looking forward to this. I wish I had a bigger brush just to try, because I've got a funny feeling that I might quite like these brushes. I don't know if I want to run the risk of going and just buying another one, though. I may have a look and see what it's like. In terms of this treasure chest, I think this is a really good, robust box. It's not something I would use. I've already got metal palettes that I keep all my pans in, and I certainly wouldn't use this mixing palette. So I think the best thing for this is to go into the stash shop and go to someone that would make use of this. You know, hopefully somebody would find a home for this, and it would be loved, because it's not going to get much love here in the cave, if I'm honest. So I'll pop that up in the stash shop at some point. But overall, I'm really pleased with the prompt. The brush seems to be very good. The paints are lovely. And the addition of the salt's just a nice little twist. And the fact that this is, you're able to paint over it, is even better as well. I really like Jelly Roll pens, so it's nice to have one of these in the box. I just had to go and get one of my other Jelly Roll pens just out of curiosity, but it doesn't say Jelly Roll on it either. This is a rather attractive shade of lilac, but you can see there, they're exactly the same. I don't know why it said Jelly Roll on it for some reason. Anyway, it's completely beside the point, as an aside. Right, let's try and take this salt off then, and see if it's done anything. You can leave it overnight, you'll probably get a better effect. But if I just scrape this off. So this is where the big puddle of it was, but you can see there, it's given quite an interesting effect where the granules have like soaked up the paint, so it's pulled the pigment in and left it sitting while it's taking the water away. I'll get that a bit closer. Yeah, there you go. So you can get some really interesting effects. With the rock salt, it leaves more of what, like I called earlier, like a snowflake pattern. And that's always really interesting, really pretty if you're doing snow scenes and things like that. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the box. I'd also love to hear if anybody got different colours to me. That would be nice, so that I can sit here and be green with envy. Yeah. Especially the magenta, because it looked really, really lovely. I'd love to see some of that. The other thing that would have been nice as well is to have a bit more paper. 2 sheets of paper is pretty stingy in my book. But aside from that, I think this is a good box. I'm looking forward to the challenge. So I hope you'll join me in a week or two's time for that when the Upcrate battle comes round. In the meantime, please stay safe, look after each other, and I'll see you back in the cave really soon for another video. Have a good day everyone, and bye for now.